Have you ever opened a sacred book and felt like you were drowning in names and stories? Yet someone else reads the same pages and suddenly their eyes soften, as if a hidden light just reached them. Have you ever wondered if the reason you do not understand is not because you are not smart enough, but because you have not dared to turn around and look at the mind that is reading? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk with you about a strange and powerful experience. The kind that does not feel like collecting knowledge, but feels like being seen. Many people think they are reading scripture, but sometimes scripture is reading them. It reads the urgency in their chest. It reads the fear behind their ambition. It reads the stubborn need to be right. It reads the way they chase spiritual achievement the same way they chase approval. And it quietly asks a question that most of us avoid. What is the state of the mind that is reading these words? Here are the two ideas I want you to hold in your heart while you listen, because everything we explore today returns to these two. The first idea is that sudden teaching is not a slogan. Sudden teaching is a skill. It is the skill of returning to one thought, one mind, one moment, no matter what is happening around you. When the mind can return, the world cannot drag you as easily. When the mind cannot return, even a good method becomes another chain. The second idea is that people who truly understand the Lotus Sutra do not become louder. They become humbler. They become less eager to judge. They become less obsessed with comparing paths and ranking teachings. They start to open the heart. And once the heart opens, compassion rises. When compassion rises, the direction of karma changes. When karma changes, destiny changes. Not as a fantasy, but as cause and effect. Now let me take you into a very real scene. It might feel like your own life. Someone buys a copy of the Lotus Sutra. They sit down with good intention. They open the pages. At first they feel hopeful. Then the words start coming. Parables, images, vows, predictions, skillful means, one vehicle, opening unrevealing. Layers of meaning that do not behave like ordinary advice. And then the mind says, what does this have to do with my life? My life is already full. My family needs me. My work is heavy. My body is tired. My emotions are messy. I do not need more stories. I need something that works right now. If you have ever felt that, I want you to know something. That feeling is not the end of the path. That feeling is the beginning of the path, because that feeling reveals the hidden contract most of us carry. We want wisdom, but we want it to obey our impatience. We want awakening, but we want it to arrive on our schedule. We want peace, but we do not want to let go of the habits that destroy peace. This is where the shift happens. If you treat the Lotus Sutra as knowledge, you will turn it into a pile of words. You will ask, what does this term mean? What does that image refer to? What is the historical background? What is the ranking of this teaching compared to others? That can be interesting, but it can also become a way to avoid practice. It can become a way to stay in the head while the heart remains unchanged. But if you treat the Lotus Sutra as a mirror, something else happens. You begin to notice what arises inside you as you read. You begin to see yourself. You notice the mind that wants to rush. You notice the mind that wants a shortcut. You notice the mind that wants proof. You notice the mind that wants to win an argument. You notice the mind that wants to be special. You notice the mind that feels threatened by greatness. You notice the mind that uses spirituality as another way to control life. And that is what it means when people say the sutra is reading you. Now I want to tell you a story. I will call the main character Claire. Claire was not looking for a badge. She was looking for relief. She was the kind of person who carried a lot quietly. She did not complain much, but inside she was tired. Her mind ran fast. Her heart held old grief. She tried to be responsible for everyone, and she was secretly angry that no one noticed how much she carried. One day a friend gave her a copy of the Lotus Sutra and said, do not rush it. Just sit with it. Claire smiled politely. She did not want to offend her friend. She went home, put the book on a shelf, and left it there for weeks. Then one night, after a long day, she felt a strange emptiness. Not depression exactly, more like a collapse of interest. The usual distractions did not work. The phone felt loud. The shows felt dull. Even the idea of chatting felt heavy. She stood in her room, looked at the shelf, and took the Sutra down. She opened it and started reading. At first she felt exactly what many people feel. Too many names, too many stories, too many layers. Her mind tried to turn the reading into a task. Finish a section, move on, check progress, prove effort. But something in her was different that night. She was too tired to perform. The mask was falling off. She did not have energy to pretend she was fine. She did not have energy to pretend she understood. She just read. Slowly, with that raw honesty that appears when the ego is exhausted. And then she hit a line, a theme, a repeated rhythm in the teaching that pointed again and again to the mind itself. One mind, one vehicle. Skillful means opening and revealing, not as abstract philosophy, but as a direction. Stop chasing outside and come back to the source. Claire felt irritation at first. Come back to the mind. That sounded like someone saying, the answer is inside you. When she wanted the world outside to stop being so difficult. So she kept reading with a little resentment in her chest. Then she encountered another theme. That all beings have the capacity for awakening. Not in a polite way, but in a radical way that breaks contempt. If all beings can awaken, then no being is trash. No being is permanently hopeless. No being deserves to be despised as less than human. Even those who are confused. Even those who are bitter. Even those who hurt others. This does not mean we allow harm. It means we stop worshiping hatred. Claire read that and felt something tighten. Because in her private mind, she had a list of people she looked down on. Some were obvious. People who had treated her badly. Some were subtle. People she envied. Some were hidden. Even herself. The parts of herself she judged as weak. And suddenly she realized something painful. She had been living with contempt. Not always spoken, but carried. Contempt is heavy. Contempt is a poison that feels like strength. It convinces you that you are safe because you are above someone. But it actually chains you to bitterness. This is how the Sutra reads you. It shows you the exact mental habit that is writing your destiny. Claire wanted to close the book. She felt exposed. She thought, I came here for comfort. And now I feel judged. But the Sutra was not judging her. It was revealing her. That is different. Judgment says you are bad. Revelation says, here is the cause. Here is the effect. Now you can change direction. She kept reading. Then she reached a passage that triggered another common misunderstanding. The teaching that all phenomena arise with the mind. That the world you experience is shaped by mind. Claire had heard modern versions of that idea online. People used words like manifestation. They said, think it and it will appear. Visualize money and it will come. Imagine love and it will arrive. She had tried some of that. It made her feel briefly excited and then deeply disappointed. So when she saw mind emphasized in the sutra, her mind tried to twist it into desire. If everything is mind, then I can get what I want. If everything is mind, then I can force my fate. If everything is mind, then I can skip the hard parts. And right there, the mirror appeared again. The sutra was reading her greed. Not greed only for money. Greed for control. Greed for certainty. Greed for a fast escape. That night Claire put the book down and stared at the wall. She felt a strange quiet. It was not peace yet. It was the silence of being caught. She realized she had been trying to use spirituality the same way she used everything else. As a tool to negotiate with life. Do this, get that, read this, receive that, pray this, avoid that. It was the same contract, just wearing new clothes. This is the moment the title points to. The moment when true understanding ends in quiet. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you see something so clear that words feel too small. Claire sat there and whispered to herself, "I am still bargaining." The next day she went to see an older woman in her community, someone known for calm presence. I will call her Nora. Nora did not lecture. She listened. Claire told her everything. The frustration, the confusion, the feeling of being exposed, the realization that she was bargaining. Nora nodded and asked, "When you read, what do you want the book to do for you?" Claire answered honestly, "I want it to fix my life." Nora smiled gently and said, "The Sutra does not fix life the way a mechanic fixes a machine. It fixes the mind that breaks life." Claire frowned. Nora continued, "Your life is shaped by causes and conditions. Some conditions you cannot control. But the strongest cause you carry everywhere is the mind you bring. If the mind is greedy, it turns even good conditions into suffering. If the mind is angry, it turns small problems into war. If the mind is confused, it turns simple choices into regret. When the mind becomes wise and compassionate, the same world becomes lighter because you stop adding poison." Claire asked, "So what am I supposed to do when I read?" Nora said, "Do not read to win knowledge. Read to see what is arising in you. Read to train return." Then Nora gave Claire a practice that sounded almost too ordinary. Before reading, sit for 1 minute. Put both feet on the floor. Feel the breath. Soften the jaw. Relax the shoulders. Then form one intention. May I read to awaken. May I read to cultivate wisdom. May I read to practice compassion. May I read to respect karma. May I read to brighten destiny by changing causes. Then read slowly. Not to finish, to notice. Claire tried it that night. She sat. She breathed. She formed intention. Then she opened the sutra again. Something changed immediately. The words did not magically become simple, but her relationship to the words changed. She stopped forcing them to entertain her. She stopped forcing them to serve her impatience. She started letting them reveal her. And as she read, she began to see a pattern. Every time the teaching pointed to the mind, she felt resistance. Why? Because her mind wanted to keep blaming the outside. It is their fault. It is the world. It is my luck. It is my past. It is my family. It is my body. It is my job. Some of that was true. There were real difficulties. But the mind used those truths as a shield to avoid responsibility. Because if the root is mind, then the work is inside. And inside work requires honesty. Here is where a deep teaching becomes difficult. Not because it is complicated, but because it removes your excuses. Claire kept reading and kept noticing. She noticed her mind rushing to interpret instead of absorb. She noticed her mind trying to teach imaginary people instead of correcting herself. She noticed her mind comparing teachings instead of practicing one step of kindness. She noticed her mind seeking special feelings instead of building stable character. And then she noticed something else. When she read with this awareness, her day began to change. Not because the world became perfect, but because she became less reactive. One morning, her co-worker criticized her sharply. Old Claire would have stored the resentment, replayed it, and later released it as sarcasm or cold distance. That resentment would have shaped her mood for days. This time, she felt the heat rise, and she remembered the practice of return. One mind. She took one breath. She softened the jaw. She said calmly, "I hear you. Let us look at the facts and fix what needs fixing." The co-worker looked surprised. The conflict softened. That small moment was karma changing. One breath changed one response. One response changed one consequence. One consequence changed the emotional tone of the day. That is destiny in real time. Now I want to bring in one of the most important insights hidden in this whole theme of the sutra reading you. When people misunderstand mind teaching, they confuse mind with desire. They think mind means whatever I want. They think mind means my cravings are sacred. They think mind means I can bend reality by insisting harder. But the sutra is not teaching desire worship. It is teaching mind training. Mind training means you learn to see desire without obeying it. You learn to see anger without becoming it. You learn to see fear without letting it drive your choices. That is why sudden eating is a skill. The skill is returning before the mind spills into harmful action. And when you practice this skill, something else happens. You begin to understand compassion in a new way. Compassion is not only feeling sorry for others. Compassion is a decision to stop creating harm. Compassion is the willingness to see another being as human even when they are difficult. Compassion is the courage to set boundaries without hatred. Compassion is the wisdom to correct without humiliation. As Claire continued reading, she started noticing the contempt habit again. The habit of looking down. The habit of labeling people as hopeless. The habit of thinking, I am different. I am better. I am more aware. This is a classic trap. The ego can turn even awakening into a trophy. But the Lotus spirit breaks this trap by insisting on universal capacity for awakening. If all can awaken, then no one is beneath you. The moment you truly accept that, the heart cannot remain narrow. The heart must open. And when the heart opens, the whole karmic atmosphere changes. You speak differently. You listen differently. You apologize differently. You set boundaries differently. You handle conflict differently. You handle disappointment differently. That is why people say reading the sutra can illuminate destiny. It does not do it by magic. It does it by changing the mind that writes destiny. Now let me tell you a deeper part of Claire's story, because this is where the title lands. The moment of silence. There was a night when she was reading after a long day, and she reached a passage that emphasized the Buddha view, the awakened view that sees beyond narrow identity. She read about opening and revealing. She read about entering the Buddha knowledge and vision. She read and felt something in her chest loosen, then tighten, then loosen again. She realized something. Her whole life, she had been trying to protect a small self that needed to be right, a small self that needed approval, a small self that needed control, a small self that needed to be safe, a small self that carried old shame, a small self that feared being ordinary, a small self that feared being abandoned. That small self had run her decision. It had shaped her relationships. It had shaped her work choices. It had shaped her spending. It had shaped her health habits. It had shaped her speech. And now the sutra was pointing to a larger self. Not ego large, but heart large. A mind spacious enough to hold life without panic. Claire saw the contrast and could not speak. She just sat there, feeling the weight of her own mental habits. This is the silence the title talks about. The silence of seeing. When you truly see cause and effect, you become quieter. Not because you are passive, but because you stop wasting energy on illusion. You stop arguing with reality. You stop demanding that life obey your fear. Claire sat in that silence and felt tears. Not dramatic tears, clean tears. Tears of finally understanding that the pain was not only from outside events, it was also from the way she held those events. And she whispered something that became a turning vow. I will stop using the mind as a weapon. I will start using the mind as a lamp. From that point, she began to read differently, and also live differently. She practiced one simple thing each day, the practice of return. When she noticed herself rushing, she returned. When she noticed herself comparing, she returned. When she noticed herself judging, she returned. When she noticed herself bargaining, she returned. When she noticed herself craving a sign, she returned. When she noticed herself speaking sharply, she returned. Returning did not mean she became perfect. It meant she became awake sooner. And being awake sooner changes everything. Now, I want to slow down and speak to you in a more intimate way. Because this is not just a story about Claire. It is about you. Many of us are exhausted, not only because life is hard, but because the mind is fighting life constantly. We fight impermanence. We fight uncertainty. We fight aging. We fight other people's opinions. We fight the past. We fight the present. We fight the possibility of loss. And every fight drains energy. The Lotus teaching does not ask you to pretend life is easy. It asks you to stop adding extra suffering through the mind that clings. This is what I mean by the Sutra reading you. It reveals where you cling. It reveals the clinging to being right. It reveals the clinging to being seen. It reveals the clinging to being in control. It reveals the clinging to instant results. It reveals the clinging to spiritual status. And when you see those clinging as clearly, you begin to loosen them. Loosening is not losing. Loosening is freedom. Now I want to give you a very practical way to test this idea. And I will do it without making it into a list you have to memorize. Just imagine the next time you sit down to read, even if it is not the Lotus Sutra, any deep teaching. Before you read, pause, feel the breath, soften the face, set intention, not to gain, but to awaken. Then read one paragraph. After that paragraph, do not rush. Ask silently, what did this paragraph reveal about my mind? Did it reveal impatience? Did it reveal pride? Did it reveal fear? Did it reveal desire for control? Did it reveal resentment? Did it reveal the need to prove something? Whatever it reveals, do not attack yourself. Just notice. Then return. That return is practice. Over time, this transforms the way you read. And it transforms the way you live. Now I want to expand the story with another character. Because some of you might say, I do not struggle with pride. I struggle with despair. I will call him Marcus. Marcus was not arrogant. He was tired. He carried a heavy feeling that nothing would change. He read teachings and felt small. Every sentence about awakening made him feel farther away. He thought, these teachings are for better people, not for me. When Marcus heard the idea that the Sutra reads you, he thought it meant the Sutra would expose him as unworthy. But the truth is different. A mirror does not shame your face. It simply shows your face. Then you can wash. Marcus began reading slowly, with help from a friend. And what the Sutra revealed to him was not pride. It was self-contempt. That is also a form of contempt, just turned inward. He realized he had been speaking to himself with cruelty for years. Even when he did something good, he dismissed it. Even when he tried, he called it not enough. Even when he rested, he called it weakness. That inner voice had shaped his destiny more than he realized. It made him avoid opportunities. It made him accept unhealthy relationships. It made him sabotage progress. When he saw that clearly, he stopped. He sat in silence. The same kind of silence Claire experienced. And then he formed a vow. Simple and fierce. I will stop speaking to myself as an enemy. That vow was compassion. And compassion changes karma. When Marcus practiced self-compassion, he became steadier. When he became steadier, he made better choices. When he made better choices, his life conditions slowly improved. Not instantly, but clearly. This is another way destiny brightens. So whether the mirror reveals pride or despair, the medicine is the same. Return to wisdom and compassion. Now I want to address something very important, because many people get stuck right here. They think if everything returns to mind, then suffering is your fault. That is not the teaching. Life has real hardship. People harm each other. Systems are unfair. Bodies get sick. Loss happens. Grief happens. This is reality. The teaching is not blaming you. The teaching is giving you the one place where you always have some power. The mind you bring. You cannot control everything, but you can train response. And response is the doorway to karma. This is why the Lotus spirit is not escapism. It is responsibility without shame. Now we come to the part where I want to share reflections that feel personal and grounded. Because I want you to feel how this teaching lands in real life. not just in a story. I have met people who read many teachings and become experts in language, but their relationships keep breaking. They speak about compassion, yet they are sharp at home. They speak about non-attachment, yet they are addicted to being right. They speak about karma, yet they keep planting the same seeds of conflict. They are reading, but the reading is not reading them. Or rather, it is reading them, but they are refusing to look. And I have met people who read only a little, but they read with sincerity. They read one passage and then watch themselves for a week. They notice how they speak. They notice how they react. They notice how they avoid responsibility. They notice how they cling. Then they practice one change. Not dramatic, but real. They apologize sooner. They interrupt less. They listen more. They stop gossiping. They stop feeding resentment like it is a pet they must keep alive. Their lives become smoother, not because they avoid challenges, but because they stop creating unnecessary enemies and unnecessary regret. I have also seen something else. When someone truly begins to understand the Lotus spirit of universal awakening, they become less lonely. This might sound surprising, but think about it. If you believe most people are hopeless, you will feel isolated. If you believe most people are beneath you, you will feel isolated. If you believe you are beneath everyone, you will feel isolated. All of those beliefs create separation. But if you believe awakening is possible for all, the heart connects. You start to see potential even in difficult people. You start to see pain behind harmful behavior. You start to see your own pain behind your defensiveness. You become more human, more tender, more grounded. That tenderness is not weakness. It is the beginning of real courage, because a hard heart is easily threatened. A tender heart can face difficulty without becoming cruel. This is why true understanding leads to quiet. The loud mind is always defending. The quiet mind does not need to defend as much. Now I want to share something that might sound simple, but it is deeply practical. If you want to know whether you are reading properly, do not ask how many pages you've finished. Ask how you respond when you are triggered. When someone misunderstands you, do you rush to attack? When you feel criticized, do you rush to defend? When you feel fear, do you rush to control? When you feel desire, do you rush to grab? Or do you pause, breathe, return, and choose a response that reduces harm? That is the real test. And if you fail the test sometimes, that is normal. Practice is not never failing. Practice is returning faster and with more kindness. Now let me bring this to the end in a way that feels complete, with the final invitation and the final vow. If you are someone who has tried reading and felt blocked, you are not alone. The block is not always lack of intelligence. Sometimes the block is fear of looking inward. Because when you look inward, you see the habits that have been writing your destiny. But here is the good news. Seeing is already the beginning of change. The moment you see the habit, you are no longer fully possessed by it. That is awakening. So the next time you open the Lotus Sutra, or any profound teaching, do not ask only, "What does this mean?" Also ask, "What is this revealing in me?" Is it revealing impatience? Is it revealing pride? Is it revealing despair? Is it revealing the hunger for control? Is it revealing the craving for signs? Is it revealing contempt? Is it revealing self-hatred? Whatever it reveals, meet it with compassion. Then return to one thought. May I awaken. May I cultivate wisdom. May I practice compassion. May I respect karma. May I brighten destiny by changing causes. This is how the sutra reads you. And this is how you begin to read the sutra in the deepest way. Not with the eyes only, but with your whole life. Now I want to hear from you. In the comments, share the most honest thing. When you read teachings, what does the mirror show you most often? Is it restlessness? Is it the need to be right? Is it fear? Is it sadness? Is it the hunger for quick results? Share your experience, because your honesty might help someone else feel seen. If you want more long-form stories and teachings like this, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment so this message can reach more people who are quietly searching for a way to turn suffering into awakening. And if you want to support the creation of deeper content, consider joining the membership. Your support helps keep this space steady, warm, and dedicated to wisdom, practice, karma, and the brightening of destiny.
There comes a time when you realize you want something that belongs just to you, something that brings comfort and keeps you connected to your inner world. Wall-crafted bracelet does exactly that. Quietly, softly, and consistently. If you felt drawn to any bracelet in this video, you'll find the purchase link in the video description and many more auctions in the channel's storefront. Because sometimes the smallest item can bring the biggest sense of peace.